Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we're going to paint this cute little squirrel. Now I'm going to break this down every step of the way. I'm going to explain how to draw him. I'm going to explain how to paint him, every technique, every tool, everything you need to know, every color mix. Now you don't have to draw him. I do provide a free traceable, but I am going to break down the drawing steps if that's something you want to learn. That's going to be in this lesson too. On the mic is my husband, John.
Squirrel!
Squirrel! He helps me bring all these fabulous, adorable lessons to you by showing up, turning on all the equipment, making sure the cameras are pointing at what I am demonstrating and teaching, because we know that what you can see and what I explain, you can do for yourselves at home. In the description down below are the materials for this class. Also a link to the website, because maybe you're like, I really don't want to draw the squirrel. I don't draw. There's a free traceable that you can use at that step in exchange. So there's really nothing else to tell you, but get your paint, get your brushes, come back and meet me at the easel right now. We're going to paint this together. So for today's class, I have a 12 by 12 canvas on my easel. I have the colors on my palette: Mars Black, Phthalo Blue, Yellow Ochre, Cad Yellow Medium, Cad Red Medium, Burnt Sienna. Over here I have Burnt Sienna, Mars Black, and in the center I have Titanium White. That's what we're using in today's class. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what the first step is. So this step is the most fun because it's the easy step. We're going to paint the entire canvas a color.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I have Mars Black here and Burnt Sienna. I'm going to mix them together with an artist knife and make a dark chocolate brown. And see, the artist knife it just helps me incorporate large amounts of paint. If you try to do this with a brush, sometimes the brush wastes a lot of the paint in the mixing. So I do like to have an artist knife around. Some people use credit cards. I find those a little more challenging. Like, not their current credit cards, their old credit cards or loyalty cards. Not active, like, rewards cards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So when you have that done, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to clean the knife completely. I like to wipe it off on a towel. And that way it's good. I'm going to take, this is a 1-inch oval mop. I'm picking this brush only because it's fairly large and it will paint this canvas in a short order because it holds a lot of paint. I'm going to get a little bit wet. I'm going to load one side, I'm going to load the other side, and I'm going to begin painting this canvas pretty quickly.
Got to just get the paint down.
We just got to get a certain amount of paint down to start off our project. One, we want a dark ground to start either our traceable from, or if you're doing it with me, the step-by-step drawing of it, you want a nice dark chocolate to start with. Dark chocolate. This could also be a coffee bean.
It's true. It could be a coffee bean.
Now I want to get chocolate things and see what it most resembles. Coffee beans or chocolate? Am I using the right analogy? I don't know.
I'm up for this experiment. I think it's a good experiment. Two types of very good beans.
Two types of very good beans. Just coming across here. And then sometimes I go the opposite direction. This helps work the paint into the canvas. And what you want is just a nice brown canvas. Now, to do the next step, this has to be thoroughly dry. And to do that, if you're painting along with me, replay, live, premiere, it doesn't really matter. When I'm drawing, what you want to do is push pause when you go to dry, and then push play when your painting is dry, and that will keep us painting together at the same time. But in this particular case, I'm going to dry it. When we come back, I'm going to show you how to draw the squirrel step by step. So I'm going to sketch in using chalk. I'm going to use two chalk tools on this canvas. You could just use kids' chalk from a chalkboard if you don't have these tools. If you're interested to know what they are, this is a Dritz chalk tool. This is Taylor's chalk. I get mine at Joann's or online, but I only buy from the Dritz company because I know that this is just chalk and it doesn't have any fillers or additives to it. Because I talked to the company and that's what they told me. Then what I have here is a Stabilo, a Carbo Othello white pastel pencil, which is also a type of chalk. And I'm going to use these two to sketch in my cutie little fat and fun squirrel. So I'm going to say maybe the top up here. I'm going to do a little line up here and say, I want to make sure that I've got breaks. So my breaks are little lines that say no matter how big I get in my drawing, I need to give myself space. right? So I need to have space. I don't want to go above this line. I don't want to go below this line. I don't want to go past that line too much. I don't want to go past that line too much. That leaves me nice negative space around my subject. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to work on kind of maybe sizing in ahead. So I'm going to do a big circle, a little bit of oval, and maybe tip forward a little bit. And I may do it a few times. Like sometimes it finds me, it's a second for me to find my scale. And especially where I'm wanting to exaggerate things. And then down here, I have, I'm going to say that a little bottom down here. There we go. And a bit of a roundness right here. Maybe even a little more round. You can see I can erase with my finger.
Yeah, just get you.
Yeah.
That's what makes the chalk nice, huh?
Yeah. So this lets me sort of see scale where I'm like, okay, this is my, I want to give myself some size and some work, and then I'll show you how we can remove chalk later. So first I've got to kind of think about this circle a little bit. And I'm going to bring a little line pretty far over to the side and just kind of come down here. Then fairly low on the head, I'm going to bring a little eye line over. This is going to tell me where my objects are. Sometimes I curve it a little bit because it's a ball, right? And short below that, I'm going to want, pretty close. I'm going to want my nose there. So for this, let's say I've got my nose. I'll make the little triangle, downward triangle. This side is longer than this side. That kind of goes in a little bit, up and back. Then there's a little bit down underneath. Some little cute little squirrely smiles. This one's a little more in perspective, so I want to make sure and then just a little bit of a little chin there. And coming off here, let's give it a little cheek. Then I'm going to hint that my eye is right here. I'll erase that outer line. Now right here, I'm going to want to bring my eye, and it's got kind of and it's fairly far back on the head. I'm going to do this. See how far back. It's fairly far back, but not as far back as I was starting. Sometimes 1/8 of an inch or something can be a big deal. I'm going to bring this eye up big and a lash out here. And then I'm going to put the inner corner of the eye. And I'm going to bring this down here. It's got to be kind of right about the same. These two need to be about the same to each other. And I'm going to bring a little circle in there. A little circle in there. There's the beginning of that eye. I can always go bigger. I can always go bigger. If I go bigger on one side, I got to go bigger on the other side, if that makes sense. Then right here, I'm going to kind of draw up a little ellipse that is a bit of squirrel ear. And coming over here, starting down a little bit. I'm going to bring this down, a little kind of leaf shape. Keep in mind that there'll be little floofs. Our floofs are for sure going to be there. Okay, this is good. A little bit of a cheek. So here's a little chin. And we have nice cheeks there. So right here, And kind of come down on the chin, and I'll sort of sketch that, but I'm going to bring a little arm in over here. Let's make sure we've got a nice little bum over here. I think I'll have the little hands meet right about here.
He's a cute guy.
He's gonna be super cute.
I like his roundy little noses.
The little trick to adorable little creatures like this is the exaggeration of features to like speak to like, oh, well, this is, you know, he's really cute here.
He speaks to my need to create little clay figures and leave them around the room.
He would make a very cute little figure. He would. Then coming off here, we've got a little bit of a tail coming back. It curves in. Comes off the back here. I'm just sort of loosely sketching it. So that is where... Now, I'm going to paint out some of my tail because I want these little hairs and things to be light over the whole figure. All right. So that is how I draw in a cute, adorable little tree puppy.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished, my friends. Oh, I'm going to add a little line right there. Sometimes I see things and I'm like, oh, I got to bring that down. I don't know if you ever do that. Okay. I'm good. When we come back, I'm going to show you what we do next. So I'm going to begin to do the dry brushing background where it's sort of like woven and it kind of looks a little bit like linen. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of my chocolate brown over here to my yellow ochre. This is a 3/4 inch Catalyst Princeton angle brush. The water load on it is very light. And I'm going to begin by, oh, lighter than that. I want more yellow ochre than that. There we go. And I'm going to just lightly dry brush down. It's just, we're going to be doing a lot of it. Now around this guy, I've got to be a little bit careful, so I might be precious because I don't want to lose these lines. The lines are super important to the character of the squirrel, so sometimes I'll be precious. You can be precious if you need to.
You just can't be my precious.
That's right. I'm just kind of come around like that. I'm not going to worry so much about the backside. I just want a little give for when I'm painting this.
You're just getting some golden outline on him.
Yeah, just so we can carefully paint around. And I may come in with like a smaller brush to dry brush nearer the figure. But right now I'm just trying to get in the coats of paint.
That seems reasonable.
Coats of paint. A little bit here. Bring it over. Now you can brush up into the tail because if you'll remember, we're going to put the tail back. So we know where the tail is. And I will brush down into it just a little bit. I won't be precious going around it. A little bit of my chocolate. To my yellow ochre. I'm going to use a lot of yellow ochre this painting.
It's a good yellow painting.
Well, it has a lot of neutral colors in it. And I think people are going to enjoy that. Let's bring some here. Now, once I have the vertical stripes down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with a little bit of the same color Same color. And I'm going to just sort of horizontally crisscross. Then sometimes I might come back down and then back across. I'm going to start weaving the background. This is the background's kind of multi-layered. So you've got to give your background a chance to be completed before you know how it came out. Because it really does require all the layers to get the effect. But you see how, like, we've got this yellow ochre, but a lot of brown is shining through. Got a lot of yellow ochre, but the brown is shining through. Well, that's pretty good. Now, in the next step, we're going to add a lighter layer, but you don't need to dry. So when we come back, I'll show you how you do that. So I'm going to take a little bit of my white, and I'm going to add it into my yellow ochre mix over here. I'm going to make a much lighter kind of parchment color. And this time I will like go down a few places, and then as I'm painting it, weave it. See how I'm doing? Ups and downs. Just kind of making a rough, and I'm not really going to take it much past here and here. Just a little line across there. I'm not going to take it much past that. Dry brushing. I'm just letting this go right across the weave of the canvas. I really, really want the weave of the canvas to show.
And that's just sort of an artistic choice, huh?
Well, it gives it that linenly look. Gonna have to do a smaller brush near the... And that's okay. We have smaller brushes for a reason. Sometimes we have complex corners and we have to turn them, and that's no worry for us because we can do that. We have small brushes. So I'll come pretty close. But I'll come in with a little angle brush, I think, to get in tight on the corners. Now over here I might be a little more brown into my yellow ochre and a little more yellow ochre on the next mix. It'll have a lightness to it, but it'll be just slightly less light than the other side when I'm done. You can kind of see just weavy, weavy. Weavy, weavy, lemon
Super
squeezy.
weavy.
Weavy, weavy, lemon squeezy. So we're starting to get some nice effects in here. I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of my chocolate color and add a bit of white to it. I'll come across here. And dry brush this color. So it kind of creates that sense of ground. And then I'll take some chocolatey brown. Gonna come underneath here. Might turn this a bit on an angle. I'm just going to lightly brush out a shadow that's going to be underneath my guy. A little bit there is pretty good. And then I can always go back into my background color and kind of blend a little bit of that shadow. Maybe even a little more black. Come under here. I'm just going back and forth and then back. This will be a nice big tail here, so you can have a little bit of a shadow in the tail. A little more white. That looks good. There we go. We've got a little bit of a ground, a little bit of side. Now I'm going to rinse this out. Not going to dry. I'm going to come in and get a lot more yellow, like yellow ochre and titanium white together. And I'm going to come over here and kind of highlight a little bit. If I have too much water, I always have to wipe my brush out. And I'll know that because it's not dry brushing. If it just starts to actively paint the canvas, then I'm like, oh, okay, I know what I've got going on. It's not dry brushing. Kind of brush it back. See, we're just weaving it. Weaving the paint. Now, if I turn the canvas upside down, interestingly enough, I can do a cool trick. I'm going to lose my little tape tabs. My tape tabs keep everything still. You'll see me sometimes replacing my little tape tabs. Tape tabs. That's how everything keeps from sliding. So if I turn this upside down, it allows the point of my brush to be against the figure, which means I don't have to even do a smaller brush. I can just come here.
Oh, yeah, you can just cut right in.
Just very carefully. Maybe a little yellow ochre if I want to. Like blend it down. Just a little bit up close. Light pressure, delicate work. So I'm barely kissing the brush to the canvas just to get the line. And then I'm very carefully blending that out. Very nice multi-layered little background. Tippy tip. It's stuck to my finger. More than the canvas. I don't even know. Oh, these two got stuck together.
It's a sticky situation.
It's a sticky situation sometimes. Sometimes I have to unstick it. To unstick it specifically. Otherwise, it won't stick. All right, put this back underneath. I actually like my blue tape a little better for this. It's a little more stay on the canvas, less on everything else. All right, put this over here. It doesn't need to be out. So once we have that background painted in nicely, what we're going to want to do is dry it. And when we come back, I'll tell you what we're going to do next. So I'm going to want to start painting in my little squirrel. I'm going to use a number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan D brush. This is DeBrush. It's a hog bristle brush. It's a good dry brush. What you want is a small, reasonable sized dry brush that will allow you to paint in these areas without going over and give you nice control. If you don't have this brush, you just pick your favorite dry brush for this technique, and we're going to go for it. I'm going to take a little bit of my dark chocolate color over to my burnt sienna. And I haven't gotten my brush even wet, and I'm going to begin to brush this over here on the back side and brush this a little bit forward. Let's brush this a little bit forward. And come to the back side here. Kind of brush this a little bit forward, get this little brown on here. I might actually do a weird thing as I'm going with this.
Yeah? What's that weird thing?
Well, it's not a weird thing. I think it's the smart thing I'm going to do here. Before I paint out all my lines, I'm going to rinse this off and put this aside for just a second. I'm going to take we needed that anyway, so that was a good use of our time. I'm going to take a number 6 Raphael round, and I'm going to very carefully go over some of my structural lines that I want a dark kind of little shadow showing from. So I'm going to come here on the little outside edge, draw a little black line. A little bit down. These nice little lines will remain kind of like as shadows as we paint in. So it can be a nice kind of rustic effect. I'm not making this is a little bit of a dry brushed line. That's another thing. I'm letting the line be dry brushy because that goes with the rest of the painting.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
You know, I might change it around the eye or so, but not elsewhere. I'm going to come in and make sure this nose is put in how I have it. A little bit down. A little bit of a chin there. I come up over this ear, and then when I come up to the top, I'll flick it. And then back here, kind of doing like a little, see how I sort of flicked that and gave that a little tuft.
Yeah, I got a little ear tufts.
Yeah. My cat has ear tufts, and I like them. Squirrels have ear tufts, and I like them.
I found that
somewhere
somewhere
I'm going
after
to bring a little black into the ear right here. That's a little bit of black fur. Let's come under here.
somewhere after 45, I got ear tufts.
Oh, man, I'm telling you what, getting older is not for the faint of heart. I'm going to load up this brush, the number 6, and I'm going to come in and go up over the eye. Just sort of make that a little tear duct. A little bit right there, so we'll be putting some little whites of the eye there, but with just a little sliver of it. Just a little bit. Come right here and hopefully a good symmetry between the sides. And a little bit of a cute little chubber cheek and a little bit of a chubber cheek. All the chubber cheeks are there. And then weirdly, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to come right here. Draw a little line in. Sort of like a little foot. Barely showing little foot. And then closer to us here. Slightly larger. Slightly larger. We don't really see these as feet until we add highlights to them, and then it's very funny. All right, let's call that a step, and then we'll get back to the dry brushing, because I think it'll just work better with our black lining to anchor us. So I'm going to keep adding in little elements. I'm going to come in and just get my little... Make sure your brush is good and dry. I had to rinse mine off, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off on a paper towel. Come here and layer over. I'm brushing back. It's dry brushing, brushing back. Down through here. And then back up. I'm going to bring it forward, even though I know I've got a little white belly to worry about. I'll bring it forward. I'm going to also come back here to the back. Come down the little jaw a little bit. And maybe a little bit back here. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow and my red together, and I'm going to make an orange. And I'll go ahead and mix that with the burnt sienna. Dry brush that in there. Dry brush this little brown fur into the little arm. A little bit right there. So it's just taking a little bit of shape. And a little bit over here. Let's come up here. Just using the D-brush. A little bit up into the ear. We're going to get into a smaller brush in a little bit to do more details, but right now we're just putting in the big. Now I'm going to bring this up here, even though we're going to bring a lighter color to all these places. I want this to be the part that shows through, because everything we do in the dry brushing shows through, right? I will take a second and I'm going to move to a smaller brush, because it would be very hard to use this big brush right here, wouldn't it? So I'm going to use a small brush. This is the same brush company. Let me get it a little bit wet. I need to wash that one out, actually. Grab one I've already done. Okay. So I'm going to get this one a little bit wet. You got to wash your brushes thoroughly. Missed one. So
that happens.
It does. I'm going to take a little bit more of my cad yellow and my cad red together and my burnt sienna. I'm going to come right here. I'm kind of think about the shape of the little area, like, so you notice I kind of curve my little brush strokes a little bit to exaggerate it. Right here in a little brown. And then on this little far side, I want a little sliver of it. I might just bring this here because it's a little bit lighter. And we're just starting to round our figure. Look at how we're rounding our finger. Our brush strokes are rounding it. We're allowing the dry brushing. And all of that is good. All right, when we come back, I'm going to tell you what we do next. So I'm going to put in a little bit of a lighter belly. And to do that, I'm going to use my burnt sienna and Mars Black to make kind of a cream color. That's a little bit off-white. And then I'm going to begin to dry brush. This is the first layer of that. I'm using my number 8, again, just to do big areas. And then where I need smaller brushes, I'll come back in with my other brush. I'm going to just bring this down and blend that back over to the side. Notice that my brush strokes kind of curve and follow the line of our little guy. This helps his belly feel rounded. I might need to come here a little bit delicately, but I'm going to just come through. Again, this is layer 1, so. And a little bit up the side here, maybe. Grab a little bit more white and brown together. And come in here and paint this. And just paint this all in. Kind of come across here because this will have a little highlight on it that'll make the chest seem a little pushed out. There we go. A little bit of the cream layering. I'm going to rinse this and put this aside, and then this is dry enough. Make sure your canvas is dry enough for the next layer. I'm going to take my small brush. You just want to use a small brush you have a lot of control over. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna, and I had a little bit of my orange over there. So it was cad red, cad yellow, a little burnt sienna, and I've added some white. I'm going to come right here and start to very carefully dry brushing a little bit right there. Little bit there. Just a little bit lighter here, but it'll be slightly darker. And then underneath here, we're going to kind of add a little bit of a little bit of a cheekers. I can always come back and grab some of my burnt sienna.
Yeah.
And just blend that around. Just blend, 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 blend. Soft, 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 soft. Takes a second.
Makes it nice and roundy.
Just making a little bit of a cheekers. Making a little bit of a cheekers. And then a little bit of this lighter color that's the outside fur color. Back into my little cream, and then I'm going to come to the top of the nose, just so very carefully. And if I need to, what I'll do is I'll take my number 6 round and just very carefully put any lines back. All right. The last little place that we have to add some of this is we're going to take our white over to this little kind of brown gray fur. And we're going to come inside of the ear. Kind of fluffing that back. Inside of the ear. Now I'm going to want to dry everything with a hairdryer, and when I come back, I'm going to tell you what we do next. So now I have my vision enhancers on, and I'm going to come work on the eye a little bit. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to grab my number 6 round. Make sure I don't have any drops of water on the handle, and I'm going to take a little bit of my white over towards my blue. And I'm going to get some burnt sienna in that mix. It kind of greens it a bit. I'm going to come here. And add a little of the blue color. Coming up the outside of the eye. Along this edge here. A little bit of that along that edge. I'm going to rinse out, wipe off, and I'm going to get some of my kind of white and brown and black color. It's going to be the whites of my eyes. Because on animals, a lot of times they're not like white white. And I'll come down and just kind of add a little triangle of that right here. Just a little bit. I'm going to take my black paint now. And I'm going to wipe my handle with a towel, just making sure I don't got no drops. I'll come over to this far side. And paint in my pupil. A little bit of a lash there. All right, that is good for now. We're going to dry all of this, and then we'll show you what the next layer of the eye is. So I'm going to want to get a little bit more of that eye color, the white eye color, and I'm going to come here to the inner side, just very carefully, kind of imply tear duct right there. I'm going to go ahead and get a little more white into my blue. I'm going to go ahead and add a little highlight inside, maybe a little bit right here. A little bit on that eye. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to take, watch for those drops, man, because they hide on you. If you have deep water in your bucket at all.
They do, they sneak in there.
They sneak in. They're sneaky. And come right here, and I'm going to add a little reflection. Going to add a little reflection. And down the little water line. And maybe on the inside here. Just a little bit. Just to show some sweetness to the eye.
Oh, that's such a good.
He's so cute, right?
Very cute.
It's so cute. I want to kind of nudge my nose while I'm here with my small brush. I take a little bit of my yellow ochre and my burnt sienna and kind of come underneath here. I brush this back because I want to do more of a highlight that makes it a rounder nose. Bring that back up over the line. It's a nice line. Take a little bit of my white into my inside color, and it's right here. No, a little more of it. There we go. Just kind of improve it. And then I wipe the brush off and I'm going to kind of blend this out. And then right under here, a little bit of a chin. Then I'm going to come and get a bunch of white and yellow ochre together. And I'm going to come over the eye. And very carefully under the eye. Right here, going to add just a touch of that color to the far side. All right. Look at that. We're going to be back to our dry brushing in a second here. Let's get back to our dry brushing. We come back, let's dry everything so we don't smear anything. When we come back, I'm going to show you what dry brushing and fun little finishing touches we're going to be doing next. So I'm going to continue on with my number 8 Raphael d'Art in a D brush. You can use whatever your good dry brushing brush is. And I'm going to continue to help the little belly get white. I'm going to take a little bit of white paint over to my burnt sienna and Mars black and create a lighter little belly color. Then I'm going to dry brush. It's not completely white, but it's lighter than what's underneath it. We're kind of doing the same thing through the whole painting, these layers of dry brushing. And come right here and lightly through the little paws, back across here, and a little more white right here, just down on the belly. There we go. Right here here, just a little bit heavier over on that far side. Just a little bit of a lighting. If you ever need to, you can come back into your darker color and then very carefully put back any little shadows that you might have had. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Oh, that's cute.
That is cute.
Is cute. I'm going to wipe this out a little. I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of my cad yellow and cad red together. And a smidge of burnt sienna. I'm going to come here and just very lightly brush. And it's lightest here so that this stays the darkest. A little bit under here, just on the toe of the brush. I'm just being careful with my brush, just make sure that I've got good good balance. I'm going to add a little white to this mix right here. Just very carefully kind of dry brush out a little cute little cheek. Okay, now I want to switch to my smaller brush for the tighter areas, just because I think it will be very difficult to steer in those zones, and I want to keep going. So I'm going to get back into my, this was my cad yellow, cad red, burnt sienna. And come here and start to very light back there. Go ahead and get a little white on it. Come right here to the nose. And I want to do the highlight a little above the end, I think. I'm going to just touch this very lightly so I have a little control. Just add a little bit of a highlight to that right there. I'm going to mix in the white into my background color. I'm going to go and right here, dry brush back a lighter color. Maybe a little darker, get more into the orange brown here. And a little bit of hair around the fur. Back into the highlight color. A little bit here. A highlight. Oh, we're looking cute. We're looking very, very cute.
Sure, we're looking cute.
Now, we need to be dried before I can put the little details of toes and stuff in, and before I can put the tail in. So let's dry everything, and when we come back, I'm going to show you what you're going to do next. So I'm going to add some little details to the little feet. So I'm going to come here real quick and grab some black and come to the end of this little paw here, and I'm going to make a few little marks back. And I'm going to come right here.
Cutie fingers.
Few little marks back. Yeah, cutie fingers. Cutie, right? Just a little tiny, could be cracking nuts hands. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow over to my cad red, and then my burnt sienna. And I'm going to come here and very carefully do little toe highlights. Little bits, just to weight that down. Little highlight. So we can just really see those little feet. Just sitting down there, feeting it up. Feeting it up. I go ahead and get a little bit of my yellow in here. A little bit there, so that is just cute. Just a little touch of something. Okay, that's all we've got to do for those little details. Now when we come back, we're going to do the tail. So now I'm going to paint in the tail, and I'm going to use a number 8 Raphael d'Artigny round brush. Again, this is a good dry brushing brush. It's got hog bristles in it. It's real stiff and scratchy, and I like to use it for my dry brushing. You can use any brush you like to use for dry brushing that's a round brush for dry brushing. I'm going to go ahead and grab a little of my black on here. I'm not even going to get it wet. And a little of my brown together. And I'm going to come off the back here and do little flicking brush strokes. And get just into the brown here. Just fluff it up a little bit. Wet it. Now I dry it with my towel anytime I rinse it out. Anytime I rinse it out, I dry it with my towel. And go ahead and get a little of my burnt sienna. Brushing that back up. Getting a little more of the brown here and creating a little bit of shadow. You cannot exaggerate too much in this area. Not at all. I'm going to come here while I'm at it and flick out a little bit of a counter curve. That's going to be the bend of my little tail. Curving in here. There we go. So that gives us that back line. And come up here. Just flick, flick, flick. Beginning of the little hairs that are going to come like that. That little tail. It's super fluffy. I may have to get my brush wet on occasion. Towel it off. Sometimes I kind of pinch it and open it up to make it be better for making little fine hairs and things. You could also use a filbert grainer or a debrush here, or a Deerfoot stippler. A lot of good brushes for dry brushing on this type of work. So it doesn't have to be this exact one. I think it is a very good one. Just flicking this back. Just using up the paint, creating the little kind of hairs and flowing marks that are going to be this little guy's flirt. Like this is the crowning glory of a squirrel.
It is indeed.
The tails are just everything. Squirrels have a lot of pretty privilege. Here we go. That's looking pretty good. So when you have a nice tail form, you're going to rinse out. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow, cad red, and burnt sienna. I'm drying my brush out a little more. Just brushing that there.
Such a fluffy tail.
Such a fluffy tail. Tip this forward a little bit so I can see it. I'm wanting to kind of highlight this little area coming across here, so I just need to plan that in now. Just like close to here. Just brush that in so it blends in. And if I ever need to come back, I can come back with like burnt sienna and kind of blend it in. Grab some of our dark color again. Tipping here. Sometimes I like to just see how it is tucking in. Tuck, 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 tuck. Tucking in the color. Now back to my cad red, cad yellow, and a little burnt sienna. This time I'm going to get a little white into it. Just brush this across the top here. Another little highlight. A little bit back and forth. And carefully tuck some over here. It's looking pretty good. grab some little white, my brush. And add a few little white hairs. To the edge of the tail here. Make sure that's looking good. Ooh. Oof, too much paint.
It's just extra highlight.
Extra highlight. Well, that'll happen sometimes. We'd be like, ooh. Just a little bit fluffed in. Just lightly blend that in. Once you have the fluffiest tail, the fluffiest of fluffy tails, right? And you want a fluffy, fluffy tail.
Of course we need a fluffy tail.
Fluffy, fluffy, fluffy tail. Oh. And back here with this next little light color. And that should offset our dark hairs. Oh, that's so cute.
Incredibly cute.
Very cute. All right. When you get this to the place where you feel like this is my maximum cuteness that I have in me. I feel like I'm at maximum cuteness for today.
Peak cute.
Peak cute. I'm at peak cute. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to grab a little bit of water over to my kind of creamy. I want a color that I have in the painting, but light enough to show down low. I'm going to grab this and then just on the toe of that, and I will give this a little signature down here. I think a lot about my signature. Not like, oh, my paintings have to have my signature because of my big giant ego or something. But I mean, like, people need to know who make the painting, and I totally get that. But I think also signatures are part of the composition of the painting. So I'm just a little thoughtful in how I do it so that the color isn't like, if I did like neon green here, all you'd see is the neon green signature. It would just become about, that would be everything in the painting. Just a little signature. All right. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what we do next. Well, I hope the fur was ever in your favor as you painted this cutie patootie, and I hope you enjoyed such a deep dive into dry brushing and how that technique can create really cute effects in art. And then more than that, I hope you just love this cute little guy who got a little boop belly and a little boop nose, and it's just really cute, and I hope you enjoy yours. And the cuteness of this is on your canvas as well. And I would love to see your version of the squirrel. So much. So you can find me online, hashtag the Art Sherpa if you're trying to tag me in. I have a closed group on Facebook called the Art Sherpa Official, and you can come share artwork in there that you do with the tutorials, and everyone there is really nice and really kind. I think sharing your artwork is part of the journey, but only when you're ready, if you feel confident in it, but I would love to see it. And I want to thank everyone who does share their paintings with me. I don't get to see every single one shared, but I really try to, and I have to say it does make my day much brighter, and it's super enjoyable. So if you feel like sharing, I'd love to see. Yeah. The other thing I'd like to mention is that we have a really cool text notification. If for any reason you're not getting notifications from YouTube or other platforms that you're on, whenever we're going to have a video, if you're signed up for the text, unfortunately, it's only for North American contiguous United States. And I'm super sorry for that, but everybody's different country has different phone rules. So there's just not been a good way for us to get around that. But if that's possible, if you can't sign up for that, there's the newsletter over on our website. So if you're signed up for the newsletter, I also send out newsletters with upcoming lessons. I say that because, gosh, like once a month or so, somebody's like, why did you stop making videos?
I know, right?
And I was like, I just finished 30 videos. daily. And so that lets me know that the algorithm isn't really pushing that out there.
We can put that SMS notification up for them then.
So that's why it's there. Because if you want to see these lessons, that's a good way of doing that, or the newsletter. Those are both really good things. All that information, description down below or on the screen, depending on what you need. Outside of that, I want you to be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I will see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.